Hello and welcome to another Print Lab tutorial. In this video I'm going to show you how to do a basic scan of film using the flatbed scanner. Scanning film has a lot of similar steps that scanning documents does that I talked about in the How to Scan video. A couple of small changes is in this video I'll be using the new Epson V850. So the first thing you want to do is open the software. You can either find it in the dock here. If it's not in your dock, then we'll do a search. So up here, there's a magnifying glass. We'll do a search for Epson Scan. And you're looking for this symbol right here. So I'm going to double click on Epson Scan. With the V850, you might need to tell it which scanner you're using, whether it's the old V700 that we have or the V850. So I'm using the V850. Click OK. And when the software opens, we'll just need to make sure that we're on the right mode. We don't want full auto mode. So I'm going to switch this to professional mode. Now to scan film, we'll need to change some of the original settings up here. In particular, we need to change document type from reflective to film with film holder. Okay. Here you can choose what type of film you're scanning, whether it's black and white negatives, whether it's color negatives, or whether it's positive film. Today I'm going to be scanning black and white negatives, so I'll select that. And then I need to prepare the scanner. Now to prepare the scanner, what you're going to do is lift the lid, and then underneath the lid there's this white backing that needs to be removed. So we're just going to grab this ring at the top and lift up, and it should just swing out, and we'll set that off to the side. And what that's going to do is it's going to expose this light unit, and this light unit is going to shine light through your negative as it gets scanned onto the flatbed. If you need to cut your film, we have this little film guillotine that you can use to chop up your film and put it in a film holder. It has this little lever that'll come down and chop your film in half. This film is good for medium format film and 35mm film. You can do 35 millimeters, 645, 66, or 67. What you do is you take your film and you're going to take the guillotine to cut in between your frames. So we've turned the light table on to help us see the individual frames better. And you're going to take this front edge and put it underneath these two tabs. You'll feed it through, and then you use the red knob to continue feeding the film through until you get to the guidelines. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get the edge of the frame before you cut to line up to that black line that says 35. You want to get that right on the 35 line, and that will allow the cutter to cut right in between your frames. You can see there's a little bit of space left, and we didn't cut our actual image. Then you can feed through and go to the next place that you want to cut. Again, feed it to that little black line. Lower the level to cut. And that's how you use the guillotine film cutter. Now to load film into the scanner, you're going to need a few things to start. First thing is you'll probably need some white cotton gloves to protect the film from getting fingerprints. You'll need a film holder that is behind the computer. They come in different shapes and sizes depending on what format of film you're using. I'm using 35mm film today, so I have the 35mm film holder. Some other things you'll want is maybe a rocket blower to blow dust, and you might want also a dust brush. To load this particular film holder, you actually need to flip it over and go from the back. And you just flip this tray upwards. and it swings on a hinge, and that's where you lay your film. Now you do want to blow the dust out of the holder, and you might even want to use a microfiber cloth and wipe any bits of dust out of there. You'll also want to remove the dust from your film as well, and you can use the rocket blower to blow the dust off of that. And on the other side, you need to be really careful because you have the emulsion, and so you want to be careful not to scratch that. And you can use the film brush as well to get any bits of dust that aren't coming off with the rocket blower. Now that the dust is removed, we can load it into the tray here. You want the emulsion to be facing the scanner, so it needs to be facing upwards. So you don't want to put it like that, you want to put it with the emulsion side up. Okay. We're going to slip it into, there's these two little tines on the end. We're going to slip the film under there, and then make sure it's running along the track. And we'll just swing the door closed. And see, you have to touch the film, so it's good to have the white cotton gloves so you don't get fingerprints on there. Now there's little latches that hold the door secure. You just want to make sure that you go through each of these and make sure that they're snapped shut. And then you want to go over it with the dust brush again and make sure there's no dust on your film. And then flip it over, go to the and remove the dust from the other side. Now this particular holder has these little latches, and what they do is they raise and lower the film holder on the flatbed. So you just want to go through and make sure that they're all in the down position, which is all the way up to the top. And now you're ready to take the film holder and put it in the scanner. Now to load the film, we're going to come over and we're going to grab the microfiber cloth, and we're going to wipe down the surface of the flatbed scanner, and removing any fingerprints or residue or dust from the flatbed. Then we're going to take the film holder, and what we're going to do is we're going to line up these white triangles with the white triangles on the scanner. And there should be a little hole that the notches kind of drop into. With those in place, you can then close the lid, and you're ready to start scanning. Now with the film holder loaded, I can now start a scan. So I'll start with preview. Now when scanning with this software and with the film holder, the software is going to automatically detect where the frames in your film is, and it's going to separate them into little thumbnails like this. If you're the wrong orientation, you don't need to go in and flip your film. You just come up here and you can rotate the frame. This one we can rotate to the side to go vertical. Okay. And there, that's the preview scan of the film. And now for the settings over here, the actual document size is going to be the physical size of each frame. As far as the settings go for a larger scan of negatives, there's kind of two schools of thought. Both are fine. Both are good. Both do pretty much the same thing. You just want to do what's comfortable for you. So the first thing is some people will leave their dimensions at the original size, but then they'll increase their DPI. And if we go here, some people will go up to 2400 or even 6400 DPI. The software is capable of going up to 12,800, but I haven't heard of anybody going that high before. That's kind of quite large. Okay, so you can either increase your DPI and just leave this the way it is. The other method that you can use is by leaving this at 300 DPI, which is standard for printing, and then maxing out your width and height. So both methods do exactly the same thing. It's just which one are you comfortable dealing with, right? So I'm going to do the second method. I like keeping mine at 300 DPI, and I will max out my target size. Now the document size is the physical dimension of the film. The target size is what your output is for your file. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to type in 100 inches and I'm going to click out, and then the software is going to automatically give me my threshold, right? It says at this dimension or at this resolution with this dimension of film, this is the largest that you can scan. And so I'm going to accept that. Now, one of the downsides of this software is that you need to do this on each individual thumbnail. It doesn't do it in a batch. So if I select this second thumbnail, you can see that my dimensions have gone back to their original. Okay, so I need to come in here and say 100 inches. And then now that one's maxed out. And so I need to max this one out. And this one. Okay. And now I've set all the settings. Now you also have the option to do some editing in the software. You can double click on one of these frames and you can bring up things like the levels and you can make some adjustments there. I like to scan my negatives just plain, and then I'll edit them in Photoshop where I have a little bit more control over the editing. So I just like to keep them at their default state and then edit them in another software. Another thing you'll want to note is down here at the bottom, if we scroll down a little bit, there's additional options. By default, unsharp mask will be turned on, and this is the Epson software automatically sharpening the image. I don't trust this software to do that, so I usually turn that off and I'll apply my own sharpening to the image. But there's also this dust removal feature here, and the Epson software actually does a pretty decent job with dust removal, so I'll turn that on. And I'll go back to my thumbnails. You'll notice that if I go into one image, you'll notice the scan button grays out and you can't use it. You need to be in that thumbnail mode, in this page mode, in order to get the scan button to turn on. So now that I'm ready, I have all my scans ready. Just on a side note, if you ever don't want one of these, you can always just uncheck the box and it won't scan that one. But now that I'm ready, I can go ahead and hit the scan button and another window will pop up. I'm going to scan everything to the desktop. That'll go faster for the scanner that way. And then I can call this, PrintLab roll. And then the software will increment it for me. I can start at 001, and then it'll automatically add the numbers for me. And then you have file types. I like to scan my negatives at TIFFs. The TIFF file format is or has less compression in it than a JPEG does, so it's going to hold more data, which is going to give me a higher quality image. So I'm going to scan at TIFF, and I'm going to click OK. Now, when you scan at such a high resolution or a high width and height, which is what I did, I maxed out my width and height, that's going to be a really, really large file, so it's going to take a long time to scan. So this is just warning me. When I have a high resolution image, it's going to take a long time to scan. So I'm going to hit continue, and then it's going to take quite a while for it to scan. But I will sit and wait for it to scan. There, and now I have my 4 images scanned. I can now put these on a jump drive, or I can stick them in my Google Drive, or I can take them home and start editing them. But that is basically how you scan negatives using the flatbed scanner. So I hope that helped you out. I hope you learned something new, and we'll see you in another video.